You don't have to be good or great at something to keep on doing it. You have to do that thing for the fun of doing it or for how you feel when you're doing it. And if it's your interest, if it's something that makes you happy, then that could also become like an outlet.
Hi, and welcome back to Reach for Wellness, the show where we go through individuals' mental health journeys to really see how they reach for wellness. I'm your host, Vanessa Alarcon, and I am a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed addictions counselor, and I'm a program manager here at Community Reach Center. I'm very excited to have Z here. Z is part of our early childhood services therapy team and is here to talk to us about his journey on his wellness and also talking to us about gratitude. So Z, welcome to Reach for Wellness.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Z, this is a bit of a fun fact because this is the first time you're actually a guest on a podcast. So you have to tell us, what is your connection to the podcast world?
Well, I used to be a media student before I did my master's in mental health counseling. And once I became a therapist over here at CRC, I started looking up for different passion projects that I could work on. And one of them was starting my own nonprofit organization called Mentally United, where we utilize creative techniques that I learned in media and the world of media to empower mental health and to foster community connections. And one of our initiatives is a podcast, which is called We Are Mentally United Podcast, where I invite guests from different backgrounds, different cultures, and ask them questions around their struggles that they might have gone through, their life journey, and strategies that they might have adopted to overcome those struggles. So it's freshly new. I started it 4 months ago, but slowly and gradually we are getting good responses.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so nonprofit starter, podcast host, that's very neat. So I'm excited we get to have you here. And it sounds like it was actually, like you were mentioning, at your time when you started here at CRC, that's when you were kind of exploring what kind of impact you can make in society, and you got to work and did something about it.
Yeah, it was basically, I still remember it was in November 2022, and I was happy with the work that I was doing. I was happy with the salary that I was receiving, but I was still just feeling not really connected to myself because I was seeking excitement in a way for myself. And that's when I started tapping into things that I like to do, like watching soccer, watching movies, cinema, and tapping into my creative projects like making and editing films and stuff, because during my undergraduation, when I was a media student, I also produced and directed a television show which was broadcasted in upstate New York and in Burlington, Vermont. So that was the time I felt the most happiest, and that was the same happiness that I was looking for when I moved to Colorado from New York, basically. And slowly and gradually, things started unraveling for me, and that's where I came across with this idea for the nonprofit and for the podcast, so that I can use my passion in doing the work that I'm doing and not feel burnt out totally and have something to be excited about when I get back home from work.
Well, there's so many connections here to like reaching for your own wellness that parallels to society and getting people connected. So you've been here with CRC for some time now, and you've actually worked where we are right now. So tell us where we are and how it connects to you.
Well, we are at Northglen Outpatient right now, and this is where I delivered a lot of summer sessions during the summer therapy program that we were running for groups for students who were in elementary school, middle school, and high school. I was working for the elementary school departments, and we were having lots of different programs over here where we would bring kids outside, we would help them connect up with nature, do a little bit of play therapy. We would also be having sessions indoors where we were letting them use other creative tools like paintings, arts and crafts, coloring, watching some interesting meditation videos on YouTube, and just was a very good and very pleasuring experience, because summer is usually off for school-based therapists, and this was a way of me still being in touch with the work that I was doing and still not getting bored, because I get bored real fast if I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, no, and in a space like this, especially as I look around, I think about, like the kids that have had fun here, but also like all the learning that they're doing for themselves as they grow and develop, but also for their mental health, just getting to be out here. And that's something unique to you as well, because you have worked with kids while you're here and with school-based, doing some day treatment, summer groups, and then also with early childhood now. So it all connects to like the youth. So that's a bit of where we are and the work we do here. So talk me through, Z, about this connection to your own burnout. You mentioned it, like you're doing this work here, and then you mentioned about that. So talk me through what that all means.
Yeah, so one of the things that I was really identifying when I stepped freshly out into the field was what age group I want to work with. And I felt like the younger population was something that I connected really well with. And also it allows me to do a lot of family work with them. But with that, I feel like comes sometimes a lot of burnout in terms of hearing heavy stories every day, listening to and helping a lot of kids go through a lot of different challenges and struggles that you may not expect or want anyone to go through. And especially when they are that young, it sometimes catches up with emotional turmoil and stuff. And those were the struggles that I've been through. But then the most important thing is to identify those struggles, because I'm a big movie buff and TV show buff, and there's one dialogue from one of my favorite TV shows, The Newsroom, which says that in order to solve a problem, first you have to identify that there is one. So that's when I identified that burned out and just feeling the need of an outlet, I would say. And that was the outlet that I was looking up for. But that's not just my only outlet. Sports has been a big outlet for me since I've been a child, and even until this day, because I'm a big soccer fan, and I really look forward to those soccer games and stuff.
I know there's lots of different sports fans. I'm sure all those sports are fun, but I feel like there's nothing like a soccer sports fan. Like, there is a fandom there that I have not seen anywhere else.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that, because I feel like the soccer culture, it comes a lot from Europe, it comes a lot from England, Spain. Now it's spreading really well in the US, because we're going to be having the first World Cup coming up in 2026. It's really embodied in the European culture, into the culture of the English fans, Spanish fans, Italian, French fans, and the games happen quick and fast. They're a 90 minutes game. They do not drag on for 3 hours or 4 hours long. So the adrenaline rush is always really high throughout the game, I would say. But then it also brings communities together. It also brings people from different backgrounds together and really unites them under the same roof of the passion or the love that they have for the beautiful game, soccer.
Yeah, no, see, I'm telling you, there's something about these soccer fans. Y'all are like very connected with each other and also the game in itself. So you've brought up outlets, about how it's been important for you to find outlets either through sports or creativity. Why are outlets important for all of us?
I feel like they're important because all of us go through different struggles in our life, whether we be how rich we are, how poor we are, what background we come from. We all go through those struggles. And even though we all go through those struggles, I feel like all human beings have a passion that they can anchor to. And when you utilize those passions or those anchors in your life as a resource of an outlet for the burnout or the things that you're struggling with, it really goes a long way as compared to doing something that might be done by a lot of different folks, a lot of other people, a lot of friends and colleagues might be doing. If you don't have that passion or that connection with that outlet thing, it becomes really hard to implement it and to navigate your life through it with that. And we all need outlets in our life. We all have not struggling, I would say, we all have busy life schedules that we are going through, and we're trying to make sense and manage them accordingly. Whether that be a kid who's going at elementary school, who's going through the pressure and stress of having to wake up every morning at 7 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and going to a place full of strangers, because in his world, those people are not people that he knows or he's friendly with, and a lot of times it's difficult for him or them to express those words, express those feelings into words. So they're going through a stressful schedule as compared to their parents or grandparents or guardians who have either 9-to-5 jobs or either entrepreneurs or working in different professions, and they're trying to navigate those struggles and stuff. So at the end of the day, I feel like everyone feels that pressure after a while, and they need something where they can release their stresses with, whether that be outdoor walks, whether that be watching a soccer game, whether that be interacting with your community, with your family members, going for a hike, going for a swim, or anything. But if those outlets are in my headspace connected more to your passions, I feel like it regulates your life much better.
Yeah, no, so I hear you about identifying passion and then also just using that as an outlet for wellness. what would you tell someone, Z, that's like, well, I do like art, but I'm not like that good, or I'm not the best, or I do like music, but I don't know if I'm that good? Because what I hear sometimes is limitations on how good someone is at their own passion or their own outlets of preference.
You don't have to be good or great at something to keep on doing it. You have to do that thing for the fun of doing it, or for how you feel when you're doing it. And if it's your interest, if it's something that makes you happy, then that could also become like an outlet. You don't really have to be the perfect painter. I paint, but I cannot draw a straight line, let alone plane. But just the feeling of using the brush on the canvas it's very therapeutic to me. So sometimes on a weekend I go and I go for a hike, I sit within the mountains and I try and paint.
Really? Oh, I've never heard anyone do that. So you like go on a hike and be like, okay, I'm gonna like.
I carry the supplies, and if I feel the call for it, because I'm very intuition based and very spiritual in a lot of different ways. So if I feel the calling that this is a beautiful spot, I should just sit here for 30 minutes and just paint my heart out, I do that.
That is so cool.
If that's a calling that I should listen to music because I'm a big music fan, then I listen to that to music during that time. So it's just being very mindful with your surroundings, just being very mindful with the things that you want to do or you feel like doing in the moment, and then doing it for the sake of doing it. My art pieces I won't be putting them around or putting them up for sale or putting them in my house even. They're just feeling of letting, like, whatever you're feeling out, kind of a thing.
I love that, and especially because we're in Colorado, this is like a great little like suggestion for someone that wants to go on a hike and try something new.
That was one of the major reasons why I moved to Colorado, because when I graduated in New York, because I went to college in upstate New York, right by the border of Canada. And when I graduated and I knew that I can get licensure anywhere in the US, I started looking up at different places. And at that time, during my master's program, I had, for the first time, identified mountains and nature as a thing that helps me get along with my stresses or with my stuff, because I grew up not valuing mental health a lot, because I come from a community where it was very much stigmatized, so we would never speak about it. Mm-hmm. So I did not know that I was going through mental health challenges until I was 25 into that program. Wow. And that's when I started unraveling myself and started looking into the things that I'd been through in the past, why I reacted to those things, and what brought me comfort. And one of the things was this nature, was the greenery, was just plain nature, whether that mountains or just be sitting under a tree, kind of a thing. And that's when I started looking into places. Colorado was one of them, California was one of them, but then it's too expensive to live in California. So that got dropped out, but then Colorado just stayed there because I just felt a calling from this place, and that's why I moved here, and with the vision that when I feel burnt out, I can just go up for a hike or something.
Well, how fitting that we're especially doing this outside even more. So to connect to this season of like, there's a lot of emphasis that comes around this time about thankfulness and gratitude, and you've touched on a lot of things that can connect to that. One is mindfulness in general, but also just being aware of oneself. Can you talk to me about what kind of role gratitude has played into your own personal life and also in your own journey for wellness?
I feel like it's played a huge role, because, as I said before, getting into my master's program for clinical mental health counseling, I was not really attuned with myself. I was not really aware about different things, and I would always complain a lot about struggles that I had been through, because I've been through a lot of struggles since childhood. And every time I would just be thinking on the negative aspects rather than looking at the positive aspects. But then the mental health program taught me about looking and being gratitude and having gratitude for different things that we've been through. And that's when I started implementing those little bits of things, and then finding different ways in which I could be grateful for, because I feel like all of us do have things that we could be grateful for, but we really have to look up for them or seek up for them. If you're able, if you have 2 legs, if you have 2 hands, if you can see, if you can hear, if you can talk, that's something to be grateful about. That's something to have gratitude for. And similarly, outreaching to different people, outreaching to your friends, outreaching to your community members when you're struggling with something is also really important, because just hearing different stories, just knowing about what other people are going through just makes you feel much more, I would say, centered, that everyone else is also going through other struggles, if not very similar struggles. Yeah. But then again, just being mindful about different things that just waking up in the morning, I feel like a big gratitude that a lot of people don't feel, or a lot of people are not grateful for, but we should be. It's been a journey. I won't say that I do it every day, but whenever I feel like I'm complaining to myself a lot, or whenever I'm self-talking myself down, that's when I start looking up at, okay, I have done this, I've accomplished this, I've done this, but then there is also a part of me that wants to do even better, and even better, and even better. So it's always, I would say, a battle of back and forth.
Yeah, wow. There's a lot of what you mentioned, but something that's stuck out to me is this almost universal experience of sometimes like not giving ourselves credit for what we do, and also just like the brain, like when you talked about being in your studies and just learning about mental health, I had a similar experience in the sense that I was like, wow, like resilience, the concept of resilience is so cool. Like the way that we can just grow and be strengthened through turmoil, like that doesn't seem like that would happen. We would think like sometimes the more bad things that happen, well, we're gonna be worse off. But there is this concept of that we learn, we adapt, we're flexible, we grow stronger. And so, yeah, there's this almost beauty in learning about ourselves, like individually, about our brains and our bodies. And yeah, and giving ourselves credit for the amazing things that we are already doing, even in the moments we feel like we're not doing enough or nothing at all.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also difficult because as a human being, you are designed to think about the bad stuff. You are designed to be in your survival mode. Like that's the thing that comes across as you when you're born for the first time. That's why a child is born crying most of the times. But that's something that's been programmed for us, even I would say through a lot of genetical things, because back then, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, thousands of years ago, we were hunters and gatherers, and that's when we were always looking up for a reason to fear, a reason to protect ourselves or to protect the people that we love. And I feel like that's still a lot of unprogramming that we have been doing for so many years. And finally, I feel like it's been talked about more. People are being much more grateful for and are having gratitude. And I feel like religion also played up a big role in that, because when you talk to God, you are thankful about things. And I feel like it's been part of the whole human civilization journey, but it's really important to be aware about those things and to be aware about your positives, because if you're only focused on negatives and not even thinking about positives or not giving that even a space, your life would be difficult. It will be challenging and it would be difficult to get out of it, because we're like a hamster. We're running on a hamster cycle, but sometimes you have to step out of that cycle and just take a breather.
Yeah, and something like nature can absolutely ground someone. So I know I definitely took a lot from what you've shared, Z, just about, yeah, the intentionality of identifying those passions, getting to do something that really fuels you, and for the overall wellness that can bring to someone. So thank you so much for sharing, Z. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Reach for Wellness. Do stay connected with us online. We want to hear what you thought about today's episode and what your takeaways were. We want to engage with you. So at Community Reach Center is the way you can find us on Instagram, at Community Reach Center, and other social media platforms. Also, we'd encourage you to subscribe to our podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, and we're also on YouTube. And so if you're just listening to this, you can watch it on YouTube, or if you're on YouTube and you just want to like disconnect from the videos and listen to something on a podcast platform, you can find us there. Also, we have another episode coming up next month. It's 'tis the season, it's the holiday season, so we'll have something more in the future. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you next time.